Why Stoicism might be the most powerful philosophy you were never taught. Why is it that in a world full of noise, chaos, temptation, and emotional overwhelm, some men and women walk like they are made of stone, calm, sharp, and unshaken? Why do some people radiate an energy of quiet power, while others break down at the first sign of rejection, betrayal, or pressure? It's not luck. It's not ignorance. It's Stoicism, a philosophy over 2,000 years old, once practiced by emperors, warriors, scholars, and everyday citizens, is now resurging in a world that desperately needs emotional control, clarity, and inner peace. And yet, most people today still confuse Stoicism with being cold, emotionless, or distant. That's not Stoicism. That's just a mask people wear to hide their weakness. True Stoicism is not about suppressing emotions. It's about understanding them, facing them, transcending them. It teaches you how to respond, not react, to remain stable when life shakes you, to act with reason instead of impulse, to endure hardship without losing your values, and to lead not just others, but most importantly yourself. In today's modern jungle, where social media manipulates your mind, relationships test your patience, and society rewards outrage over wisdom, Stoicism is your armor, your compass, and your quiet rebellion. This video isn't just another philosophical breakdown. This is your gateway to understanding what Stoicism really is, where it came from, why it emerged when it did, how it evolved from ancient Greece to modern self-mastery movements, why it's more relevant today than ever before, how it strengthens both men and women in unique and powerful ways, and most importantly, how you can live it, not just learn it. You'll discover why Stoic emperors ruled themselves before ruling empires, why emotional control is the highest form of power, and how this ancient wisdom can help you build a life so clear, so calm, and so unshakable that the modern world no longer owns your mind. We'll also explore how Stoicism gives modern men a way to regain their internal leadership without aggression, without neediness, and how it helps modern women escape emotional chaos and find grounding, purpose, and strength in a world that constantly tests their worth. So, if you ever felt like you lose control too easily, your emotions betray you, your relationships confuse you, or you're drifting without purpose, then Stoicism is the code you've been searching for. This philosophy was built in fire by people who faced war, exile, betrayal, poverty, and political corruption. They didn't fold. They didn't panic. They lived with courage, discipline, wisdom, and justice. And now, so can you. Stay with me until the end. Because once you understand Stoicism, not just the quotes, but the spirit behind the philosophy, you won't look at life the same way again. Welcome to Stoic Desire, where ancient wisdom meets modern power. Now, let's begin our journey by asking the question that few people can answer with clarity. What exactly is Stoicism? Section 1. What is Stoicism? Core philosophy and foundational beliefs. Before we go deeper, we must first strip away the myths. Stoicism is not about being emotionless. It's not about cold attachment, indifference, or apathy. It's not about being robotic or unfeeling. In fact, true Stoicism is the complete opposite. It is the art of mastering emotions, not by suppressing them, but by understanding where they come from and learning how to choose the right response instead of giving in to the wrong reaction. Stoicism began in ancient Greece around 300 BCE with a philosopher named Zeno of Citium. After losing everything in a shipwreck, he wandered into a bookshop in Athens and discovered the writings of Socrates. Inspired, he developed a new philosophy that could survive not only storms at sea, but the storms within. He started teaching under a painted porch or a stoipoikal, and that's where the name Stoicism comes from. At its core, Stoicism rests on 4 cardinal virtues. 1. Wisdom, to know what is good, bad, and neutral, to see reality clearly. 2. Courage, to act rightly in the face of fear or hardship. 3. Justice, to treat others fairly and do what is right, even when it's not easy. 4. Temperance, to practice self-control and moderation in all things. Now, think about that for a moment. These aren't just philosophical ideas. They are daily life skills. When you deal with betrayal, you need courage. When you feel jealousy, you need temperance. When you're tempted to retaliate, you need justice. When life hits you with chaos, you need wisdom. That's Stoicism. It's not just theory, it's practice. It's a philosophy of action, not just contemplation. It's a framework that empowers you to face life's unpredictability without being emotionally wrecked. But here's the most important Stoic idea. There are things within your control and things outside of it. Focus only on what you control. This is a foundation of all Stoic strength. This simple line has saved men from insanity, despair, and destruction for over 2 millennia. Let's break it down. You don't control the economy, the past, what others think of you, who leaves or stays, what happens tomorrow. But you do control your attitude, your actions, your mindset, your responses, your values. The moment you deeply understand this and live by it, your power increases and your suffering decreases. Because suffering is often not about the event. It's about your judgment of the event. And Stoicism teaches you to correct that judgment. When you're ghosted, what do you control? Your self-worth, your boundaries, your focus. When you're insulted, what do you control? Whether you react or stay calm, whether you retaliate or rise above. The Stoic doesn't chase outcomes. He masters inputs. He doesn't drown in emotion. He uses emotion as fuel, as information, as energy. This is why Stoicism is not just some outdated concept from old scrolls and marble temples. It is more relevant today than ever. In a world full of manipulation, distraction, emotional breakdowns, social media outrage, and endless mental noise, Stoicism is your path to peace. It is not just what you know, but how you live. And now that you understand what Stoicism is, in essence, let's go deeper into its origin story. Where did this idea come from? Who carried its torch through history? And why was it once the code of kings, emperors, and warriors? Let's explore. Section 2, the origins of Stoicism, from shipwreck to empire. Every great philosophy begins with suffering. And for Stoicism, that suffering came in the form of a shipwreck. Around 300 BCE, a young merchant named Zeno of Citium lost everything when his ship sank at sea. He arrived in Athens, penniless, aimless, and broken. Most men would have crumbled, but Zeno, he wandered into a bookstore, and there he found the writings of Socrates, and something clicked. He asked the bookseller where he could find men like the one he just read about. The man pointed to crates of Thebes, a cynic philosopher, and Zeno became his student. But Zeno eventually found his own path, one that blended rational thought, moral strength, and emotional mastery. He began teaching his ideas under the Stoa Poikile, a painted porch in the Athenian marketplace. His students became known as Stoics, not because they were cold, but because they learned how to stay calm in the heat of life. And so, Stoicism was born, but Zeno was just the beginning. He was followed by Cleanthes, who deepened Stoicism's spiritual framework, Chrysippus, who systematized Stoic logic and ethics. And then came the Roman Stoics, Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, who turned Stoicism into a way of ruling, serving, and surviving the chaos of empire. Let's talk about them. Epictetus, the slave who became a master of freedom. Born a slave, Epictetus endured abuse, poverty, and powerlessness. But he understood something most never do. It's not events that disturb people, but their judgments about those events. Though he had no control over his physical condition, he mastered his mind. When he was eventually freed, he opened a Stoic school and taught men how to reclaim inner power, no matter what happened on the outside. His discourses are filled with brutal honesty, practical advice, and piercing truth. He taught one central idea: control your emotions, or someone else will. Seneca, the wealthy advisor who wrestled with the self. Seneca was a playwright, a politician, and an advisor to Emperor Nero. He had wealth, power, and influence, but he also understood the fragility of life. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." He taught that time is the one thing we can never recover, and that a man who wastes his time is more careless than one who throws away money. Seneca wrote powerful letters and essays on how to live wisely, endure pain, handle success, and prepare for death. He was no perfect man, but that's what makes his teachings real. He fought his ego. He struggled with hypocrisy. And he wrote not as a saint, but as a man in the fire, like us. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor philosopher. Then came Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world at the time, a Roman emperor who ruled over millions. And yet in the quiet of night, he wrote not about conquering kingdoms, but about conquering himself. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." His journal, now known as Meditations, was never meant to be published. It was his private search for truth, strength, and meaning. He dealt with betrayal, disease, war, and grief, but never gave in to despair, because he lived by one principle: the obstacle is the way. From a shipwrecked merchant to a Roman emperor, Stoicism evolved from survival to sovereignty, and yet its core remained the same. Master your emotions, control your mind, live by reason, act with virtue. And now, centuries later, we stand at a crossroads once again, because in the chaos of modern life, we're shipwrecked in different ways, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. And that's why we need Stoicism more than ever. Section 3. Why Stoicism was needed in ancient times. A philosophy born in chaos. Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems. To truly understand the strength of Stoicism, we must go back to the battlefield it was born on, not a physical one, though war was constant, but the internal battlefield of the human mind, shaken by a world on fire. The ancient world was not a peaceful place. It was a world of brutality, injustice, betrayal, slavery, constant invasions, tyrannical rulers, and overwhelming uncertainty. Life expectancy was low. Medicine was primitive. At any moment, war, famine, or plague could wipe out a city. There was no social media to numb you, no therapy apps to calm you. A man had to deal with harshness face to face. It was in this world that Zeno of Citium, shipwrecked and wandering, discovered the early teachings that would form Stoicism. He saw that external events were beyond control, but internal reactions could be mastered. This wasn't just philosophy, it was survival. The Romans, too, adopted Stoicism with passion. Why? Because their world was cruel and demanding. The most powerful Stoics weren't monks hiding in mountains. They were generals, emperors, slaves, and senators who lived amidst corruption, pressure, and deadly politics. Take Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled during wars and plagues. Imagine leading the world's most powerful empire, fighting barbarians, watching your own children die, and still waking each morning to remind yourself your power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Why was Stoicism needed in that era? Because the world gave no mercy. You could be betrayed by your closest ally. You could be publicly humiliated. You could lose everything. And you had to keep going. Emotions were luxuries men couldn't afford. And so, Stoicism became a weapon of clarity and calm in the face of chaos. But here's the deeper truth. Stoicism wasn't just for survival, it was for greatness. It was a path to living honorably, with courage and wisdom, regardless of the noise of the world. In a culture that worshiped fame, revenge, and indulgence, Stoicism taught restraint, focus, and inner dignity. This is important for modern men and women to understand. Stoicism wasn't created for monks who wanted to hide. It was created for warriors of the mind, people who had to walk through hell and still carry themselves like kings. Now, let's bring this forward. We're not being hunted by swords or lions anymore, but we are under attack by something more deceptive: distractions, anxiety, comparison, consumerism, emotional chaos, and identity confusion. The battlefield has changed, but the war is the same. The enemy is still the same: uncontrolled emotion, false desires, ego, and fear. And that's why the ancient need for Stoicism is still very real today. Because whether you're leading an empire or just trying to lead your life, you need a shield. You need the inner armor the Stoics wore. And in the next section, we'll explore exactly how Stoicism evolved from ancient times to become even more powerful in today's world. Section 4. Why the world needs Stoicism more than ever. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. We live in the most advanced era of human existence. Hyperconnected, constantly stimulated, and endlessly distracted. Never before have we had more comfort, yet felt more discomfort. Never before we had more freedom, yet lived more like prisoners. Trapped by comparison, overwhelmed by choices, and paralyzed by feared judgment. In a world that runs on attention, emotions are currency. And guess who's profiting the most? Algorithms, outrage merchants, social platforms, marketing machines, and emotional manipulators. This is exactly why Stoicism is no longer optional. It's essential. Stoicism isn't a spiritual flex or philosophical hobby. It's a survival toolkit for modern life. It teaches you how to build mental armor in a world designed to pierce your psyche. We now face a crisis not of wealth or technology, but of emotional chaos. Anxiety, impulsivity, loneliness, chronic dissatisfaction. These are the plagues of the modern man and woman. We were never taught how to rule our inner world, only how to conform to the outer one. Stoicism reverses that imbalance. When you're constantly bombarded by curated lives on social media, Stoicism reminds you to focus only on what you can control. When the pressure to succeed, respond, and impress becomes unbearable, Stoicism invites you to stillness, to detachment, to self-possession. More importantly, Stoicism doesn't ask you to escape society. It trains you to walk through it with unshakable calm. In today's culture of offense, overreaction, and emotional fragility, imagine what kind of person stands out. The one who is unbothered, unmoved, and unmanipulated. That person becomes a lighthouse in the storm. That person becomes rare. That person becomes respected. Whether you're dealing with relationship drama, job loss, financial fear, or even just the noise of everyday life, Stoicism teaches you how to remain grounded, calm, and composed when the world demands you to panic. It is precisely because the modern world thrives on your emotional reactions that emotional self-mastery becomes the greatest rebellion. That's why millions of people, from CEOs to athletes to soldiers to monks, are rediscovering Stoicism. Because it's not just about enduring pain, it's about transcending it. It's not about being numb. It's about being invincible in spirit. So ask yourself, in a world where people are slaves to emotion, how powerful would it be to be the man or woman who feels deeply but is never disturbed, who experiences chaos but never collapses? That is what Stoicism offers. And that is why the world needs it now more than ever. Section 5. Modern Stoicism. Ancient wisdom in a digital age. The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Imagine Epictetus scrolling Instagram. Marcus Aurelius caught in a Twitter debate. Seneca stressed over unread emails. Absurd, right? But here's the truth. You and I are fighting battles the Stoics never faced, on screens, in algorithms, in dopamine-driven digital traps. Yet their wisdom, born in ancient silence, might be our most powerful weapon in this noisy era. Modern Stoicism is not about toga-wearing philosophers quoting dead authors. It's about living with internal order in a world that profits from your disorder. Let's break it down. Every scroll of your phone delivers comparison, outrage, lust, distraction, and illusion of missing out. It teaches your brain that you are not enough, that you must react, comment, swipe, prove something. The digital world isn't evil, but it is relentlessly manipulative. And what does modern Stoicism do? It trains you to pause before reacting, to value stillness over stimulation, to choose peace over panic. When your mind is pulled in 100 directions, Stoicism brings it home. It whispers, you don't need to respond to everything. You don't need to win every argument. You don't need to chase every validation. That is radical power in today's world. Modern Stoicism means waking up and choosing discipline over indulgence, presence over distraction, and truth over popularity. It means checking your phone after you've checked in with yourself. It means forming your opinions based on reason, not retweets. It also means learning how to handle rejection without resentment, how to hear no without falling apart, how to face failure without questioning your worth. Stoicism teaches you to become anti-fragile, to grow stronger with discomfort, not weaker. But it's not just personal. In relationships, modern Stoicism helps you stop needing constant approval. In careers, it helps you pursue excellence without becoming a slave to praise. In leadership, it grounds you in virtue, not ego. The Stoic today is not cold or emotionless. He or she is simply centered, rational, and rooted. The modern Stoic can cry, feel love, laugh, but never at the expense of self-control. Modern Stoicism doesn't ask you to delete all your apps or live in a cave. It asks you to become master of your mind in a world trying to hijack it, to feel deeply, yet act with intention, to speak less, but mean more, to scroll less, but live more. This is the evolution of Stoicism in the 21st century. It's not outdated. It's not passive. It's not boring. It's a rebellion against emotional slavery. It's a discipline for the mentally elite. It's the armor you wear in the age of noise. And those who wear it stand out, not because they're loud, but because they don't flinch. Section 6, Stoicism for Men, Strength Without the Noise. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. In today's chaotic, hyperstimulated, and emotionally volatile world, the modern man is at a crisis point. He is bombarded by endless voices. Be sensitive, but not too sensitive. Be dominant, but don't be toxic. Be confident, but stay humble. Try to navigate the sea of contradiction. Many men lose their core. They become reactive, confused, drifting without an anchor. But Stoicism offers an ancient and proven answer: clarity through discipline. It tells men not to chase approval, but to become the kind of man who doesn't need it. A Stoic man doesn't talk loudly. He doesn't perform masculinity. He doesn't seek validation. He is silent strength. He is calm power. In a world where everyone is performing, he is real. What does a Stoic man actually look like in daily life? He practices discipline over chaos. He wakes early, not to impress others, but because he has work to do. He respects time, his own and others. He trains his body, not for aesthetics, but for capability. He eats clean, not for six-pack abs, but for clarity and energy. He values restraint over reactivity. When someone disrespects him, he doesn't explode or spiral. He sees the insult as it is, a reflection of the other person's weakness, not his own. He chooses where his energy goes. And most often, he chooses stillness. He is indifferent to approval. He does not live for applause. He does not bend for likes. He is not chasing external validation because he already has internal validation, and this makes him rare. In a relationship, the Stoic man does not chase. He never loses his mission to impress a woman. He loves deeply, but not blindly. He does not tolerate disrespect. He does not plead for affection. He leads with purpose and allows only those who align with that purpose to stay in his life. He values loyalty over attention, solitude over noise, purpose over fleeting pleasure. He guards his peace like a warrior defends a fortress. Does he feel emotions? Absolutely. But he doesn't let emotions drive his decisions. He feels love, but he doesn't collapse for it. He feels anger, but he doesn't become it. He is emotionally literate and spiritually grounded. And in today's society, where so many men either suppress their masculinity or perform it, the Stoic man is authentic. He doesn't need to prove anything because he lives it. He's the man who doesn't post about his hustle. He just builds. He's the man who doesn't argue with fools. He just walks away. He's a man who doesn't scream for respect because his presence already commands it. In a world full of weak, distracted, reactive men, the Stoic man is a calm in the storm. He is rare. He is powerful. He is needed. And he is you once you decide to choose purpose over approval and become unshakable. Section 7. Stoicism for women. Inner peace over outer perfection. Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. In a world where women are constantly told to be more beautiful, more likable, more available, more perfect, Stoicism offers a radically different message. Be still, be strong, be free. Modern women are under pressure unlike any before. From social media filters to endless comparisons to romantic chaos and professional expectations, it feels like life demands constant performance. But beneath that noise is a yearning for something real, something ancient. That something is inner peace. And Stoicism is the key. A Stoic woman is not defined by how flawless her skin is or how curated her Instagram feed looks. She is defined by her emotional depth, her ability to respond instead of react, and her clarity about what truly matters. She lives by virtue, not validation. She is guided by reason, not reactive emotion. She chooses inner stability, not external perfection. Let's break this down. The Stoic woman doesn't chase love. She chooses it. She doesn't beg for attention. She gives it only where it's earned. She doesn't seek to be the most wanted. She seeks to be the most respected. In her relationships, she does not lose herself. She sets boundaries rooted in self-worth. If someone disrespects her peace, she doesn't engage in drama. She exits with grace. Because to her, peace is priceless. In her career, she is not consumed by the illusion of hustle culture. She works with intention, not obsession. She does not attach her worth to titles or paychecks, but to how she shows up every day with integrity and focus. In her appearance, she is elegant, not for attention, but because self-care is a reflection of self-respect. She trains not to become someone else, but to master herself. She eats well, sleeps well, thinks well, because clarity is beauty. She knows that true power is not loud. It is calm, composed, and quietly consistent. This makes her magnetic, because in a world of anxious energy, the woman who knows who she is and refuses to let external chaos shake her becomes irresistible. Not because she's chasing desire, but because she radiates self-possession. Here's what Stoicism teaches every woman. You do not need to prove your worth. You need to embody it. You're not what they think of you. You are what you think of you. Your value does not rise and fall with likes, comments, or male attention. Your peace is sacred. Guard it with every boundary necessary. The Stoic woman doesn't need to be perfect. She needs to be present, emotionally intelligent, rooted, free. She is the storm and the calm. She is the lover and the leader. She is powerful because she owns herself. And in doing so, she becomes a lighthouse for others, strong, still, and unshakably grounded in who she is. Section 8. How to be a Stoic. The path of daily mastery. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. The question isn't just what Stoicism is, but how to live it. And this is where most seekers get stuck. They admire the principles, the quotes, the clarity, but they don't know where to begin. So, how do you become a Stoic? Not in theory, but in practice. Not in words, but in action. Being a Stoic is not about being emotionless. It's about having emotional mastery. It's about turning life's trials into fuel for inner growth. It's about living so well, so deeply rooted in character, that nothing external can shake who you are. Let's walk through the core habits of the modern Stoic. Number 1, master the morning. Own the first hour. The first hour of your day is the compass of your soul. Start with reflection, silence, and intention. Read a single passage from Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus. Meditate, journal, ask yourself, what will I face today that might trigger me? How can I remain calm and virtuous through it? This is premeditatio malorum, expecting adversity before it arrives. And when it comes, you'll be ready. Number 2, practice the pause. A Stoic doesn't react, he responds. He creates space between stimulus and response. When something frustrates you, pause, breathe, ask, is this worth my peace? 90% of things aren't. You'll begin to act not as a victim of emotion, but as a master of it. Number 3, embrace voluntary discomfort. Sleep without a pillow. Take cold showers. Skip indulgences. Not to punish yourself, but to train your will. When you can choose hardship in peace, you'll survive hardship in chaos. Seneca called this preparing for misfortune. Number 4, define your virtue daily. Before you step into the world, ask yourself, who do I want to be today? What virtues will I embody? Courage? Justice? Temperance? Wisdom? Virtue isn't theoretical, it's your compass. You walk it, breathe it, live it. Number 5, reflect nightly. Before bed, ask, where did I falter? Where did I stay strong? This is evening review, a sacred Stoic practice. You're not judging yourself, you're training awareness. Over time, this simple habit will carve clarity into your character. Number 6, serve something bigger. A Stoic doesn't live for himself alone. Whether it's your family, your mission, your God, or your principles, serve something greater. Ego collapses when service rises, and life becomes meaningful. Number 7, accept what you don't control. This is the heart of Stoicism. You don't control her mood, or the past, or the economy, or the traffic, but you do control your thoughts, your actions, and your responses. That's where your power lives. Radical acceptance isn't passive, it's powerful. It frees you to act with clarity, not chaos. Becoming a Stoic doesn't happen overnight. It's not a label, it's a lifelong path. But every time you pause instead of reacting, choose reason over impulse, virtue over vice, you are walking that path. And here's the truth. No one needs to know you're a Stoic. They'll feel in how you move, how you speak, how you respond to stress, how nothing and no one can pull you off center. In a world full of scattered energy, the Stoic is rare. He is still. He is disciplined. He is deeply grounded in himself. He doesn't chase validation. He doesn't fear chaos. He doesn't compromise virtue for approval. He lives by an ancient code in a modern world, and in doing so, he becomes unshakable. Section 9. Stoicism in the Modern World. Solving today's problems through ancient wisdom. The world has changed. Technology dominates. Emotions are weaponized. Relationships are confusing. Masculinity is questioned. Attention spans are short. And anxiety, crippling, silent, constant, is everywhere. Modern life, despite its luxuries, is mentally exhausting. We scroll more than we speak. We chase validation more than virtue. And we suffer more from our interpretation of events than from the events themselves. But here's the twist. The more things change, the more Stoicism becomes necessary. Let's talk about why. Number 1. The overstimulated mind needs stillness. Today, most people live in mental chaos. Notifications, social media, endless comparison, news cycles designed to outrage. You can barely think, let alone reflect. Stoicism teaches mental stillness. It tells you, silence the noise, train your focus, guard your attention as a king guards his throne. When you stop reacting to every emotional headline, DM, or relationship twist, you stop bleeding energy. Stillness is not weakness. It is power under control. Number 2, modern relationships are emotionally confusing. Why do modern men and women struggle to connect? Because emotions run wild. Because no one is taught to control themselves anymore. Because people want to be understood before they've even tried to understand. Women test boundaries. Men fear rejection. Games are played. Communication is rare. Ghosting is common. Stoicism answers this with a calm voice. Don't chase. Don't beg. Don't overinvest in what you don't control. Focus on your standards, not your desperation. It teaches men to remain rooted in character, even if the woman is hot, cold, or inconsistent. Emotional stability becomes attraction, and respect is earned not by reacting, but by remaining centered. Number 3, depression, anxiety, and emotional breakdown. Let's face it, this generation is the most medicated, anxious, and depressed in history. And it's not because life is harder. It's because meaning is missing. Stoicism doesn't just give you coping tools. It gives you philosophy, a reason to get up, a lens through which to see suffering as fuel, not failure. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And modern science agrees. Most anxiety is self-generated, anticipatory, rooted in fear of outcomes we can't control. But Stoicism teaches you to detach from outcomes and fall in love with process. It teaches you to expect misfortune, prepare for it, and rise above it. Number 4, the masculine crisis and emotional weakness. We live in an age where masculinity is criticized, not cultivated. Boys are told not to cry, but not taught how to feel. Men are told to be strong, but not taught how to be virtuous. This creates emotional fragility. Either men suppress everything, or they explode. They either submit to emotionless stoicism, misunderstood, or become emotionally unstable. Real stoicism, however, isn't about being numb. It's about being anchored. Modern men need this more than ever, not to dominate others, but to master themselves, to show up consistently, to lead with integrity, to control what they can and surrender what they cannot. Number 5, why Stoicism is no longer optional, but urgent. Think of your phone. It has hundreds of apps, each draining your battery. Modern life is like that, constant emotional apps draining you, but you never close them. Stoicism is the mental reboot, the reset, the operating system of inner strength. It teaches you to say no without guilt, to feel pain without collapse, to face uncertainty without panic, to lead with virtue instead of impulse. In a chaotic world, Stoicism is your compass, your armor, your sword. We are living in a time where the weakest mindsets are glorified and virtue is forgotten. But men who rise above it, men who embrace Stoic teachings, not only survive, they thrive. They become unshakable in storms, respected in relationships, feared in negotiations, trusted by their tribe, because no matter how loud the world gets, they remain still, and in that stillness, they rise. Final words, the Stoic flame, lighting your inner revolution. So here you are. You've traveled through centuries of wisdom, across burning empires and collapsing kingdoms, through dusty scrolls and the quiet minds of ancient men who refuse a break, no matter how violently the world tried to bend them. You now know the history, the roots, the evolution. You walked alongside Zeno in the marketplace, Epictetus in chains, Seneca at the edge of death, and Marcus Aurelius writing in the stillness of a battlefield. You've seen how Stoicism shaped not only philosophy, but men, warriors, leaders, fathers, lovers, emperors. But now comes the hardest part, becoming one yourself. It's not enough to understand Stoicism. It's not enough to quote Marcus Aurelius or repost a motivational reel. If you want to feel the fire of transformation, you have to live it, and that begins now. Why the modern world needs Stoics like never before. We live in an age where noise drowns out wisdom, where attention is currency, where instant gratification is worshipped and emotional outbursts are applauded more than discipline. You are constantly being tested by social media, by women, by work, by failure, by loneliness, by uncertainty. But here's the secret the world doesn't want you to know. No one can manipulate a man who governs himself. The Stoic man doesn't beg for love. He doesn't chase chaos. He doesn't drown in rejection. He stands rooted in something deeper than pleasure. He is anchored in virtue. This isn't just philosophy. It's a lifestyle. Stoicism is not about being cold. It's not about avoiding emotion. It's about mastery, emotional mastery, purposeful silence, bold integrity. When a woman tests your boundaries, when failure hits your doorstep, when life collapses unexpectedly, the Stoic doesn't scream. He observes. He responds, not reacts. He acts with purpose, not panic. That is what makes you undeniably attractive. That is what makes people respect you. That is how you become unbreakable. How to begin right now. Wake up tomorrow and reflect before you scroll. Read a Stoic passage before you chase dopamine. Write your thoughts before you pour them into others. Train your body like a warrior, but train your mind like a monk. Speak less. Observe more. React never. Set boundaries that hurt but heal. And above all, live every day as if you've died once already. That's Memento Mori. That's premeditatio malorum. That's amor fati. That's the Stoic man. Join the brotherhood. If this message hit you in your gut, don't ignore it. The world needs fewer emotional boys and more Stoic men. Men who choose character over comfort, restraint over reaction, power over pleasure. Subscribe to this channel, Stoic Desire, because here we build men, not with shallow words, but with ancient weapons sharpened for the modern battlefield. Every video, every teaching, every quote, every lesson, it's not for everyone. But if you're ready to rise, if you're tired of being manipulated, misunderstood, and mentally weak, then join us. We don't chase. We don't beg. We don't break. We rise. We lead. We endure. This is your revolution, and it begins now.